Well, hello, welcome to the Daily Bible Podcast. My name is William Hemsworth, and I thank you so much for joining me for today's show. Well, we're continuing on in Matthew chapter 22, specifically in the parable of the wedding servant. We covered the first couple passages of this parable yesterday, and today we're going to look at Matthew 22, verses 4 through 6. All right, so Matthew chapter 22, verses 4 through 6 say, "Then he sent some more servants and said, 'Tell those who have been invited that I prepared my dinner. My oxen and fattened cattle have been butchered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding banquet.' But they paid no attention and went off, one to his field, another to his business. The rest seized his servants, mistreated them, and killed them." King here is God. The servants in question here are, the Son is Jesus, and the servants are those Old Testament prophets. And so in today's verses of this parable, we see that the feast is ready, the banquet is ready, and it's ready with the finest of everything, oxen, calf, fattened cattle. Everything's ready. It's a great feast. It's a great banquet. And it's the finest that the king could offer. And he gives a second invitation. The king gives a second invitation. And with the magnitude of this banquet, who would ignore this? Well, those who were invited were rude. They decided not to come. They were murderous. And by acting the way they did, they were like spitting in the face of the king, if you will, which is why we see later on in this parable, and just in the verse that we're going to cover tomorrow, the king becomes enraged. So throughout the Old Testament, God was calling his people to repentance. And, time and time again, they would ignore. They would persecute the prophets that were sent to tell them this good news. And later on they would come around, but sometimes it took several hundred years. And like I said yesterday, the parable is a metaphor, obviously, for salvation history, where the Gentiles would be grafted into, would become the people of God, grafted into. So it's a very interesting parable. It goes on for several more verses. It gets a lot more detailed as the parable unfolds. So just as an application today, though, what are we doing with this invitation that God is giving us? This invitation to follow him. Is he tugging at your heart to follow him? Is he tugging at your heart to make him Lord of your life? Are we denying that? Are we going our own way, like these people who were invited to the wedding banquet? If he's tugging on your heart, answer that call. Answer it. It's not going to be, roses. Don't listen to these health and wealth gospel preachers who say that if you become a Christian, you're never going to be sick. You're going to be rich. No, that stuff's garbage. Jesus never promised that. But he did promise that he will never leave us, nor will he forsake us. He will be with us every step of the way, and in many cases carrying us through the hardest of times, if we cling to him. Answer that call today. God bless you. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Daily Bible Podcast. Please visit my website at williamhemsworth.com. It has been a couple weeks since I put a blog post up. I will get one up this weekend. My apologies on that. But God bless you and have a great day. We'll catch you tomorrow. God bless.